Welcome to the STEAM Discovery Project. I just want to briefly introduce myself and welcome you all in. My name is Adrienne Pruszinski. I'm the founder and program director for StarTech Global Academy, which is a nonprofit dedicated to STEM diversity. We're the ones bringing you the STEAM Discovery Project today. I'm from Seattle, born and raised. I graduated from Garfield High School and then joined the Air Force ROTC and studied mathematics at the University of Washington. This was actually not a good match for me. I did not like the program, so I transferred out and discovered my real passion. I became an entrepreneur, and here we are with our latest project. The STEAM Discovery Project is a series of free workshops for teens to discover STEAM education and career pathways, plus the resources to get you there, including careers, scholarships, tutoring, mentors, and more. Now, you may be wondering, what exactly is STEAM? Well, STEAM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math. It's STEM with the addition of arts. Now, when we say arts here, we mean the ways in which technology and STEM are used in the arts. For example, this presentation was made on a digital design app. Part of what we hope you'll find interesting today is all the unique ways that STEAM is used in different types of careers. And before we dive in, I want to cover some quick Zoom etiquette for those of you that aren't familiar. If you look at the bottom left corner of your Zoom window, you should see your microphone with a line through it, and it looks like this. It means you're muted. We'd like everybody to go ahead and stay on mute until the Q&A part, which is at the end, but you're welcome to use the chat feature. On the bottom of your Zoom window, you'll also see that chat icon. I'd love it if you go ahead and click on that icon now. When the chat box comes up, you can say hi, and we'll know that it's working. Now for your view. At the top right of your window is the view icon. There's the side-by-side speaker view, which will best help you see who's speaking. I have that circled. There's also the standard view, which shows the presentation with the participant cameras on the top. And there's the side-by-side gallery view, which shows the presentation with cameras on the side. Last but not least, just a friendly reminder that we are recording the sessions and translating them into other languages. So community members who are not here can still get all the awesome info. So if you know someone who might be interested but can't attend the workshops, you can share the recording once we post it. Now, for those of you at the location, hopefully you got to enjoy some free pizza. And you may also know that the first 10 participants to sign up and complete the workshop's exit survey wins a $25 Amazon gift card. Now we're going to email those gift cards, so we need your email address. If you've already signed up, we've got your email and you're good to go. We'll match it with the exit survey email and you'll get your Amazon gift card. If not, you can type your email into the chat box now and we'll match that with the exit survey email. For those of you that don't win, all participants can pick up a swag pack from Garfield Teen Life Center today. So for our agenda today, I've already covered the intro and the Zoom etiquette. Our other topics are why STEAM with our workshop lead, STEAM stories with our special guest speakers, and a Q&A panel with our special guest panelists. And then we'll finish with a very brief exit survey, which helps us improve the workshop. It finds out if you want to be matched with a STEAM mentor, and it also helps us keep the workshops free with grants. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to our workshop lead, Myla.
Hi, everybody. My name is Myla Hightower. I am a senior at Xavier University studying biology pre-medicine. I am from Seattle, Washington, born and raised mostly in the South Seattle area. I went to South Shore K through 8 for most of my pre-high school years, and then I graduated from Cleveland High School in 2016. I had originally transferred to Cleveland for basketball, but Cleveland is a STEM high school, so they make all their students either do a life sciences track or an engineering and design track. Fortunately, I was placed in the life sciences track, and it only took me about a semester or two to realize that this is what I wanted to do for my career. So why STEAM? There are hundreds, if not thousands, of different STEAM careers, and we will explore some of those with you today. There are also many different pathways to a career in STEAM, and you can always choose the one that fits you best. In the US, STEAM jobs are growing at twice the rate of non-STEAM jobs. There will be jobs waiting for you in STEAM when you finish with your schooling, and also in the US, the pay for STEAM jobs is twice as much as the average pay for non-STEAM jobs. Let's play a little game. When you hear STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, what careers come to mind? Let's see what careers you guys can guess. Let's use the chat box to enter your guesses. I'll give you guys a few moments to think of some careers. Chat box open. Well, okay, let's see. Okay, good guesses. One thing to note though is that STEAM is very diverse. It's not just scientists, engineers, or basketball players. It's so much more. The images on the left, you'll see in the top image, there's a man and a woman in a biotech lab. Very sciencey. And the bottom image is a man and a woman in a music studio, and they're using DJ mixing equipment. These are both STEAM careers. Now, like I mentioned, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of STEAM careers, and today we just wanted to highlight a range of careers to get your wheels turning on what's possible. Now, here are some science-based careers related to health and wellness, like dentistry, nursing, pharmacy and medicine, lab technician, counseling and psychology, physical therapy and fitness. And other science pathways include the nature and life sciences like ecology and land stewardship, zoology, forestry, environmentalism, or becoming a veterinarian. On the technology and business side of STEAM, you have game development, website or app developing, IT systems and security management, DevOps and business operations, digital marketing. And on the media and art side of things, you have graphic designing, multimedia artist, digital animation, or becoming a multimedia creative director. On the technical art side of STEAM, you have entertainment and audiovisual careers like director of photography, videography, visual effects technician, and an audio engineer. Now, another cool thing about STEAM is that there are multiple pathways to get into the career that you want. Virtually all careers in STEAM are going to require a high school diploma or a GED, so that's your first step. With 1 to 2 years of education and training after high school, you'll end up with a certificate or an associate's degree. 4 years will usually get you a bachelor's degree, and 6 to 12 years will usually get you a master's or doctoral degree. Now, 12 years might seem like a long time, but that time is going to pass anyway. Where do you want to be in 12 years? What do you want to be doing? How do you want to be spending your time? The key is to figure out what you're interested in, see what careers there are, and then start down the path. And hey, don't worry about how to pay for your education. There are always scholarships, grants, and student loans that will help you cover the cost. And at the end of this workshop, we'll connect you with a resource guide that will help you with tutoring, scholarships, and more. Okay, another great thing about STEAM is that the jobs pay pretty well. We like to call it a family wage, meaning you can live on it and support a family. Each of the career fields I mentioned earlier have a way to get into them with a shorter path, a medium path, and a longer path. Usually the longer paths are going to pay more, but not always. There are some 2-year paths like information security or business operations that will pay as much as the 6 to 12-year path. We're talking 25 to 45 an hour. It really just depends on the specific career. So your key takeaways to take from this workshop. First, there are many diverse careers in STEAM, all the way from engineers at Boeing or SpaceX to life sciences and multimedia artists. Second, that there are multiple pathways to each career field. On average, careers in STEAM require 1 to 12 years of school, but remember that time is going to pass anyway. So what do you want to be doing? What do you want your life to look like? And third, if you put it all together, it's really about finding something you're interested in, choosing a pathway, and letting that lead you to a career in STEAM. And lastly, it's important to remember that most jobs are going to have ongoing training and education, so you can always switch careers or pathways if you change your mind. And I want to take a quick second to show you the resource guide that I mentioned. We're creating a guide for each workshop location with a list of local resources, including advising, tutoring, scholarships, computer labs, study spaces, free Wi-Fi, food, workshops, and so much more. You can find it via the link at the bottom of this page, startechgas.org/guide. If you ever forget it, you can always just go to steamdiscoveryproject.org and the resource guide links will be there in the menu. Here is an example of what the resource guide looks like. You can click on the bottom, you can click on the location of your choice, and it will take you to a customized list of support resources curated just for you. Now it is time for our first guest speaker. We have Miley Headley, who is a nonprofit leader focused on equity in education and STEM.
Great. Hello, let me get my, I thought I was second, so let me get my presentation up here. And am I set to be able to share screen? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Great. I was making last minute change. Okay, let me see here. Let me share my screen. Stop the other screen share. Yes. Sorry, everybody. Okay. Are you seeing my screen yet?
Not yet.
Okay, let's see.
Do a stop share.
Now I think, did it, no, it's my Zoom window hid when I started my presentation, which did not happen last time.
That happened to me before.
There it goes. Sorry. Okay. Here my screen. Stop that. Let's just do all screen too.
It's working.
Okay, do you see the picture of me?
Yep.
Hey, all right. Sorry, everybody. So I'm Miley Hadley, and I'm the executive director at a nonprofit, and our work is to inspire kids to love math, which is really fun. And what an executive director is, they're basically the CEO of a small organization. So that's what I do. And how I got here, I grew up just south of Seattle in the Tacoma Lakewood area, raised by my mom, me and my brother. And when I hit high school, well, me and my mom weren't exactly getting along. My brother was already out of the house, and my mom basically kicked me out. She kicked me out of the house summer between my sophomore and junior year. And so I've been on my own ever since. And I spent a lot of my junior year and senior year living with family and friends. And I eventually found a job living with a family where I exchanged babysitting for room and rent. And so that's kind of where I got a little bit of stability in my life at that point. Oh, that was weird. Okay, sorry, y'all. Okay, great. And so in high school, supporting myself, I didn't want to work at a fast food restaurant. My brother and a lot of my friends had done that. It just looked exhausting and I wasn't that motivated. But I knew I needed to kind of figure out what I was going to do with my life. And a lot of my friends had planned to join the military when they graduated high school. And that wasn't really interesting to me. So I actually got a job at a grocery store, which was really interesting because there was income possibilities. You could actually earn pretty good money if you stayed there long enough. They had health insurance, they had a retirement plan, and many of my coworkers were older and this was their career. So it's like, okay, this is a way that I can support myself. It's easy, I know how to do it, but I've since learned that I like being around ambitious people. And my coworkers were not ambitious. They partied when they weren't working, and they just didn't really do anything. I mean, they were like, anyway, they didn't do a whole lot and it just wasn't motivating to me. And so here I'm in high school, living on my own, working with a bunch of folks who I didn't really feel connected to. And so I actually had to think about my own career path and whether or not college was possible because the opportunities were fast food, or not fast food, but restaurant industry, staying in grocery, or joining the military. And none of those were what I wanted to do. So I got into gear, talked to my counselor, started making some connections and thinking about whether or not college was possible since my grades were not all that great. So I started putting in work to figure out how to get to college. And I got into the University of Washington, and the way that I did that was in high school, I did Running Start. So I passed the entrance exam for math and English, which surprised me because I'm a terrible reader and a terrible writer. But I did pass the exam. And what that did when I applied to the university, even though my high school grades were bad, I had shown that I can perform at a college level, which I couldn't have done if I had stayed in my standard high school classes. So I was able to get there, which is exciting. And since I had taken math classes at the community college, even though, little secret, I failed pre-calculus 2 times, possibly 3. But because I had college level math, I was able to start in calculus. So I actually never passed pre-calculus ever. It just wasn't a requirement for calculus at the university, which was awesome. So I got to the university, was ready to take my calculus because I enjoyed math. And then I got connected to different ways to build community there. I knew I kind of wanted to be an engineer, but I didn't really know what an engineer did. And I just knew all I had in my head was a lot of math and likely a lot of white people. And I wasn't sure if that's how I wanted to spend my day. So what I did was when I got there, I just got connected to different organizations and different groups and looked at how I can build community. So one of them was a student group called the National Society of Black Engineers. Bethany, who you'll hear from later, is someone I got to engage there. Same with Adrian, who spoke earlier. There's also the Minority Engineering Program, which I don't know if it exists anymore at the University of Washington, but there's something very similar to it. And then also Women in Engineering. So despite the fact that there's not a lot, nationally, a lot of Black folks in STEM, at the University of Washington, it just felt so small to me. And it didn't feel like I was on this massive campus anymore because I had this small circle of people who were like me, like women and Black men, trying to pursue technical degrees. And we created a lot of support and paths for one another to pursue our degrees. And little tip, I was not a very good student. And so what I did there was I was interested in computer science, but we can't all be like Bethany, who you'll hear from later. But I ended up going into electrical engineering with an emphasis on software and math, because those are the areas that I enjoyed, even though I wasn't always very good at them. And it was called a communications focus. And one of the big pieces in there is signal processing. And basically any data that is collected and converted into some kind of output likely had an electrical engineer working on it at some point in time. So think anything digital, so CDs, cell phones, GPS, medical imaging, which you may hear from Nicole, not sure, a little bit later, military, think tracking and surveillance, remote sensing, video gaming, a lot of that stuff has signal processing embedded within it. So that's what I focused on. And I worked at an organization company called Hewlett-Packard as an engineer, but I didn't really enjoy it. I was sitting in a cubicle. I had a lot of flexibility, which was awesome. I got to work at 10, but I stayed until 7 because that's when I liked to work, and the work was easy. I enjoyed it, but I just didn't like the culture of it. So I, again, went soul searching about what I wanted to do. And I know I liked math, but I didn't want to be a teacher. But I also know I didn't want to work in engineering, but I have this degree. But through those organizations that I connected with when I was at school, I realized I really love outreach, and I really love programs like this. And I really love seeing these brilliant kids see that they can do STEM. So I moved into the public and nonprofit sector, left a relatively decent paying job to kind of start over in a new career to do work like this, which has been really fun. And some of the highlights that I've really enjoyed in my career is there's a program out of the University of Washington Tacoma campus called the Math Science Leadership Program. And we work with kids over the summer from 7th grade through high school and get them internships, and they do lots of hands-on building robotics, things along those lines. And I launched that program, gosh, Adrian, Beth, was that 15 years ago? And it's still going on. So I'm super proud of that. And it was really focused on what they called at the time urban youth, which which was code for like Black and brown kids who grew up in the Tacoma area. So that was something I was really proud of. And then I also did a statewide algebra challenge where we actually used a video game to teach kids as early as first grade algebra. So first graders can do algebra, which means all of you can do algebra if you haven't already. So that was super fun. It was a video game competition and we did it statewide. Like the governor even put out like a letter out to all the schools. So that was, again, something I was really proud of. And I just saw kids who never thought they were good at math. I'm like, you play video games all day long. You're probably okay at math. You just have to figure out like the applications. And then I worked at an organization called Washington STEM that gave money away to organizations that did work to get kids and more students involved in STEM. So those were all things that like I wasn't working like in the math and in the engineering, but my degree made all of these things possible to create more opportunities, which was super fun for me. And now what I do is I run a nonprofit, as I mentioned, and we inspire kids to love math. The organization is called Zeno, and we are working to teach preschoolers, so kids ages 3 to 5, math and math skills, which is pretty darn awesome. So like what I like to say is for me in STEM, I'm all about STEM with purpose. And my purpose has been in the nonprofit sector, creating programs and partnering with programs like this to inspire more kids to go into STEM. So that's me.
Thank you, Miley. That was awesome. Thank you so much. Our next guest speaker is Dr. Nicole Sinclair, who is a board certified OBGYN medical director in population health.
Hello, thank you, Myla. I will see if I can share my screen. Oh, that was not what I expected. Okay, just 1 second, just getting it up. My share screen button moved. I guess that's the theme. Oh, here we go. Okay. Tell me, please, if you can see me. Okay, great. Thank you. So, okay, I am Nicole Sinclair. I am a medical doctor and an OBGYN. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit also about my journey to get here and just, some things to hopefully pique your interest in a career in medicine. You'll notice I have a couple extra initials after my name, FACOG. I'm going to talk about that in this next slide. But before I get into that, I can just tell you a little bit of background. So I also was born and raised in Seattle. I pretty much grew up in South Seattle also. I went to school in Seattle. I went to Madrona for elementary school. I went to Washington and Garfield. And so very connected to the city and so excited to be talking to you guys. So let's see here. There we go. So what do I do? Because you might have noticed there were a couple things mentioned in the intro. I am a board certified OBGYN and a fellow with the American Congress of Obstetrics and Gynecologists, or obstetricians and gynecologists. Sometimes when you go to see a different, type of physician, you'll see past their, letters, whatever, they have these extra letters. And I know when I was younger, I always wondered what those things meant. So I wanted to make sure at least to mention, for every specialty in medicine, there is an organization of those types of doctors that come together to just talk about what are the issues facing their field, what are ways they can help make their particular, group of folks healthier, and how can they also advocate on a larger national level. And so for OBGYN, that's the American Congress of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. It's a large national organization with, I want to say about 50,000 or more OBGYNs. There's actually a national lobby that goes to Washington and advocates for women's health rights. And that's something if you're interested in, you can find online. So in this first column, it kind of lists what my normal OBGYN work is. I'm sure probably everyone knows we do some basic stuff like deliver babies and provide, prenatal care and postpartum care after delivery. We also manage more complicated or high risk pregnancies. So there are a lot of people who can provide obstetric care, such as family medicine doctors, midwives, nurse practitioners. Sometimes when the pregnancies are more complicated, though, those have to be shifted to an OBGYN physician. We also provide basic health and wellness services, cancer screenings, annual check-ins. We provide reproductive services to help with both having a baby or not having a baby, as well as other hormone issues that women may be experiencing separate from fertility, including at times of puberty and also times of menopause. And then we also treat conditions affecting any of the female organs, the uterus, ovaries, and we do that both medically and surgically. And I just want to put a plug out there because not everyone knows that OBGYNs actually get to do a lot of really interesting surgeries. I practiced as a clinical OBGYN here in town, actually at Group Health before it became Kaiser. And then in 2015, made a career switch to being a medical director with Cigna. So on the right column, you'll see what I actually do now, that I'm not seeing patients in clinic any longer. So now, before I came to Cigna, I was a medical director at Group Health. And at that time, we developed clinic and labor and delivery unit policies and protocols, kind of how that unit works and what we do in our clinic. I also provided oversight for our nurse practitioners and physician assistants who are also seeing patients in the clinic. We do some hiring and firing, thankfully hiring more, no firing, and those types of things. Now that I'm at Cigna, what the type of work that you may do as an administrative medical director or as an insurance medical director, you may or may not know that Cigna is a national health services and health insurance company. So there I kind of help provide consultation to kind of design what should be in your insurance, what types of things are normal services that have to be covered for women and, definitely should not be skipped. We make sure that there's good quality healthcare happening so that when you go to a doctor that's in your insurance network, they've actually been, reviewed and screened and they're not just some Joe Schmo from the street. And then we also look to try to figure out interventions that can help the public as a whole. So not just one or two people or not just one city, but what can we do to help all of the people in Washington state? So that's kind of the role that you may do as an administrative medical director. So how did I get into this? I always kind of had an off and on interest in medicine, but I would say probably around about the middle of high school was when I really firmed that in. So this is from 1994 during my Garfield days. Towards the end of 10th grade, you're starting to prepare for junior year. There's talk about PSATs, there's counselors and advisors, and you kind of start thinking, well, what am I really going to do? In my family, there were no physicians or other people who had any kind of interest in science. I was lucky enough to be blessed with plenty of successful folks in my family, but they all did different things. Some people worked in business, some people worked in real estate, some were in politics, but no one had any touch of science or medicine or anything like that. But it just always really called to me. And so around about this time, I thought, this is really what I think I want to do. Some of the factors that kind of came into the decision at the time were, I kind of wanted to incorporate a few things into my career. You'll see here, these people are representing, I really wanted something that had a broader impact on society as a whole and that actually was helpful for people. And so that kind of, narrowed down some of my interests. I wanted something that was going to be really intellectually stimulating, and I was just really interested in science and chemistry, and it just seemed really cool and fun. I really just always wanted to know how things worked. How does the body work? How can I stay healthy? How can I avoid some of the health problems that you see all around you and in your community? Oops, I'm blocking my own graphic. over here with this lock, this is representing, I really wanted security. It was very important for me to not spend a ton of years in school, get out, and then not have a job. So I was not willing to consider anything that didn't have some element of job security. And then last but never least, I wanted to make sure, that there would be a reliable and consistent salary that I could support my family and myself with. And so again, all of those really fit into a career in medicine. So I decided this is what I was going to do. But then what, so how do you become, and the only thing you really hear about it is that it can be hard to do. So how can I increase my likelihood of success? So I cannot emphasize enough the importance of planning and strategy. No matter what you want to do, you can't do anything without a plan. And so you first have to figure out, what are the requirements, and then how can I do that? So to that end, I wanted to kind of spend a little bit of time talking about the physician pathway. Back in my day, there wasn't actually the internet. So you could go to the bookstore and there were textbooks that would tell you how to get into med school, whole books you could buy. But luckily for you, you don't have to do that. You can just get this information for free online. And every medical school has a ton of information, on its websites that you can figure out about what types of things do they promote. That's actually a little ways down the line, because for you guys, really, all you need to think about is undergraduate. I've kind of detailed out here to the left the physician pathway, and similar to what Myla was saying, it can feel daunting when you take a step back and you start adding up years, and you do some math. And, for me, going straight through, I wasn't done with all of my training until I was 30 years old. So that can sound like a lot, but as Myla said, that time is passing no matter what you're doing. And it's not like you're putting your life on hold because you're still training and learning. You're just kind of living along as you go. So I definitely would encourage you not to at all be intimidated by the numbers. The first step is college. Everyone here is already thinking about college. So good for you. You're already got a head start. College is at least 4 years. There's lots of different ways to fund college. And I was really lucky that I was able to get an academic scholarship to USC. And so that's where I did my time. It was a 4-year scholarship, so I had 4 years to get it done. And luckily that worked out. But again, there's no race because you're going to get there. After undergraduate, medical school is always 4 years. And I'm going to spend a little bit of time later talking about ways that you can kind of enhance your chances. Again, I felt really fortunate to be able to go to the University of Washington Medical School, but I will tell you, I spent all 4 years of undergraduate working on that goal, talking to people at the UW, coming home every summer and spending time there and really trying to kind of get my foot in the door because that was really where I wanted to go. And then after medical school, when you graduate, you do have a degree of a doctor of medicine, but you can't actually get a state license to practice medicine without some element of postgraduate training, which typically is residency. Almost all states require at least 1 year of residency, but residency training programs are typically not less than 3 years. And then they can go on, up to 6 or 7 years, depending on your specialty, with fellowship after that if you want. The nice thing about residency, though, is at least it's a paying job. You're not paying tuition. And so again, you can still feel like you're living life, just working a lot of hours. So I did my residency in Portland at Oregon Health Sciences University in OBGYN. And then I did an additional 1 year fellowship at Virginia Mason in female pelvic surgery. So just to share some general medical school facts. So there are 154 allopathic and 38 osteopathic US medical schools. If you guys are at all like me, you maybe haven't heard of an osteopathic medical school or knew that there were even 2 different types. These are all still traditional Western medicine, but osteopathic medical school is just a slightly newer type of training over the last few decades, and really emphasizes some additional physical manipulation techniques that are used as an adjunct to traditional allopathic medicine. I can only speak a little bit to that because I'm an allopathic you know, an MD. But when you go to your doctor's appointments, you might notice that on your, you know, doctor's card or whatever, after his or her name, it may say DO, and that's a doctor of osteopathy. Again, the same general type of thing. Osteopathic medical schools have actually been increasing in popularity, and right now about 25% of medical students are in DO schools. A really cool thing is actually a new DO program opened in Yakima not too long ago. And up until, you know, a few years ago, there was only the University of Washington here in the state. And so obviously everybody's applying to that one place. It's so great for us now that we also have the osteopathic school in Yakima, and Wazoo now has a medical school. So much better for us in Washington state. It is true that more people will apply to medical school on any given year than will be accepted. And for the 2020 to 2021 year, about 42% of people who applied were accepted. That's actually not uncommon. And one of the things that we were taught even back in the 90s was that typically you may have to apply to med school more than once just because of the odds, not because you're not a wonderful applicant, but because there are 53,000 wonderful applicants all going for 22,000 spots. And so, you know, there are lots of things along the way that I'm going to talk about later that you shouldn't let discourage you, this being one of them. Everybody applies to lots of medical schools, usually no less than 10 on the years that you're applying, because each school only takes on average 7% of their applicants. That may sound daunting, but you shouldn't be scared by that, okay? There's excellent expected job growth, and there's already a physician shortage. The lowest estimated job growth I saw was 4% over 10 years, over the next 10 years. And by 2033, there's actually going to be a shortage of over 100,000 physicians because the population is aging faster than people are becoming doctors. So there's plenty of opportunity out there now and in the future. So the most important things that I would call out to think about, you know, in advancing your goals, of course, are, you know, the basics of academic achievement. But again, I would say kind of to Miley's story, you know, we all have ups and downs. And, you know, I had really great grades in high school, but let me tell you, that first year of college was not nice. And at the end of that year, you know, I had to maintain a 3.0 to keep my scholarship, and I was at a 2.8. You know, I found myself on probation. When you talk about medical school, everyone makes it sound like if you don't have a 4.0, you're just not going to get in. So it was super stressful. A ton of advisors were like, oh, you better change your goals because you are not getting in. But obviously that was not true, because here I am today. So, you know, I call that out to say, don't let a little hurdle set you back. And actually, I wasn't going to tell you guys, but since Miley shared, I actually failed a class in medical school, which sounds crazy because I was actually a really good student in medical school, but there was just kind of a, you know, how circumstances happen, a confluence of events, and I got short on study time, and the whole class was based on one test, and bam, I was 2% short of the requirement to pass. And I actually had to remediate that, which was a great learning experience. And I also was fearful that that would hold me back when applying to residency, but it didn't. So again, we all have hurdles, and I actually found that I got a better response to folks when I was applying in different places who could see that I had that setback and was able to kind of bounce back and get back on track. So grades are important, but they're not everything. It's really important to be well-rounded. So you can imagine that nobody wants a school full of 200 exactly the same straight A students with nothing else to talk about than biology, you know? So one of the best ways to enhance yourself as an applicant, both to college, graduate school, medical school, is to just have other things that you're interested in and not be afraid to do those. Not feel like you have to spend all of your time just on the single topic, you know, of your career. It's really important that there are people with diverse backgrounds and perspectives in medicine, because the patients are diverse, and oftentimes how well you can improve someone's health is related to how well you can relate to them and they can relate to you. So we know that there is a need for physicians like you in the field, people like you, I'm sorry, to be physicians in the field. And then really when you're applying, it's important to have had some direct exposure to healthcare. Typically for any of the health professions, when you're applying to those schools or those programs, they want to know that you really know what you're getting into, that you kind of know the good, bad, and the ugly. And so usually you'll need to have spent some sort of time in a healthcare setting. One of the great ways that you can get some exposure are with summer internships. A lot of the summer internships that are for pre-med students are targeting undergrads, but I do want to call a couple of those out, you know, especially for those of you who are, you know, closer to graduation and looking in that direction. Here in Seattle, there are two programs through the University of Washington that I wanted to highlight. This first one is actually through the dental school, but it's for anyone who's interested in any kind of a health profession, as you kind of see listed here. This is a program that you can participate in for free. And also you get great mentorship. Let me tell you, there is no better way to get your foot in the door either than for applying to undergrad or applying to graduate school than to have someone from that school know you, write you a letter of recommendation, you know, endorse that you're interested in a hard worker. So if you already know some schools you're interested in, you need to go there and get your face in front of people and make sure they know you. The second program I would mention is the Summer Health Professions Education Program through the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. The Robert Wood Johnson Foundation is a national foundation that supports minorities interested in health and health research, and they have a lot of great programs. I actually did this program. In my day, it was called MMEP, but you can do this at multiple sites. I'm highlighting the UW here, but maybe you want to try somewhere different. You can see there are a lot of places located on the left. And on top of this being free to participate in, they actually, so that's nice. Room and board, like, you know, meal plan, they house you in a dorm. It's a great program. So definitely look into that. And then, you know, talking about relevant exposures and experience, you know, there are a lot of different ways that you can get that. So the easiest, you know, are volunteering, shadowing. If you know someone in your community who is, you know, doing what you want to do, see if you can just tag along with them for a day at work, see if they have any volunteer opportunities in their clinic. I would certainly offer that, you know, to come with me, except for I'm not in clinic anymore. And I don't know how exciting it would be to sit at a desk, but I'm happy to, you know, share any one-on-one info anyone would like. One of the things that I did in college also was I became a phlebotomist because, you know, volunteering is great, but we also sometimes need to get paid while we're students. And phlebotomy for me was a great way to get exposure, relevant health exposure, and be working too. So phlebotomy training, you do have to be a high school graduate, but that's it. You don't have to already be in any kind of college courses. And programs can go anywhere from 4 weeks when they're concentrated to as long as 2 quarters. These are 5 places in town that you can do the programs. I actually did mine through Highline Community College, and they ran Saturday sessions. We did 6 Saturday sessions, and it was great. And it's really well paying. You can do shift work, hourly work, temp work, so it can kind of fit around your school schedule. Because as you can imagine, people need to come into the lab to have their blood drawn, and the labs are open even outside of clinic hours. The other really, really important thing I would say is mentorship. And unfortunately, one of my graphics here, I don't know if I can slide it out the way. Oh, okay, went ahead. But one of my graphics went on top of the other, but there are a couple of organizations I really want to call out that are helpful for mentorship that you can look into even right now if you know you're interested. The National Medical Association is the largest and oldest collection of African-American physicians in the US. It's over 100 years old. It has, you know, tens of thousands of physicians, and it specifically represents the perspectives and concerns of those of African heritage. And oh yeah, since 1895. It's a great organization. They have a student called the Student National Medical Association, and those branches are on campuses all around. If you go to college and there's not a branch at your school, you can start it. SNMA was a wonderful organization, and especially, you know, when you're in a college and there's not that many of you, like, you know, in my graduating class, there were only 3 Black medical student, 3 Black students who went on to medical school out of 10,000. It's really great to have that support and to have a core group, kind of like what Miley was talking about with NSBE. There's also the National Hispanic Medical Association I wanted to call out, and the Latino Medical Student Association, kind of as a parallel with SNMA. And that's unfortunately their banner is underneath. It's really, again, I cannot emphasize enough the importance of mentorship. And I will say, as of late, I have not been as connected with the UW branch at all of SNMA, but I would presume that they're still going. And if anyone's interested, I can kind of find out more information, because oftentimes they will do outreaches as well to high school students. I just wanted to end it with a picture from an SNMA attended in 1999. You can kind of guess which one I am, and they're all kinds of young. This was such a fun experience. SNMA conferences happen every year, and it's like a 3-day party. Let me tell you, there is nothing more fun than an SNMA conference, but it's also good camaraderie. And all of these women in this picture, we all helped each other, and we all made it to medical schools. So I just really want to just emphasize that group. So I'll stop there and see if we want to, I believe, maybe turn for questions or the next speaker. And actually, I'll stop sharing.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I wonder if everyone there might not know what a phlebotomist is.
Oh, thank you for calling that out. So a phlebotomist is just the fancy word for a person who draws blood. So in a medical clinic, there are a lot of people who can draw blood, like a medical assistant or a nurse, but a person who does nothing but draw blood is a phlebotomist or a phlebotomy technician. And usually you work in the lab. You can sometimes work in a regular, outpatient lab like LabCorp or Quest. You can work at a clinic, like when you go to like the polyclinic lab. You can work at a blood bank. You can work for a DNA paternity testing company. I did that in college. So you can imagine any of the places where you just see the person who is certified to come and draw blood, that's the phlebotomist. Thanks, that's a great question.
Do we have time for more, Adri?
Yeah, we have time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions, and then we can do the exit survey.
Okay, perfect. To get the ball rolling, we do have some free giveaways for the first couple of questions asked. If you are in person at Garfield, we have a couple t-shirts to give away, and if you're virtual, we have some more Amazon gift cards. For our Q&A panel, we have Maurice Lewis, Technical Program and Product Manager, Bobby Brzezinski, a biopharmaceutical manufacturer, or who's in biopharmaceutical manufacturing, Bethany O'Feely, who is a computer engineer and leader in equity, diversity, and inclusion, and then our guest speakers, who you're already familiar with, Dr. Nicole Sinclair, board certified OBGYN medical director in population health, and Miley Hadley, who is a nonprofit leader focused on equity in education and STEM. Oops, sorry about that. So if you guys have any questions, you can go ahead and answer them in the chat box. Feel free to type the word question and we can call on you, or you can just type the full question into the chat box. I think we have a few more minutes, so we can take a question or two if you guys have any more questions. Give you a minute to think of some. Maybe I can get us started.
Yeah, don't be shy.
Let's see. Looks like we have a chat question. Oh, you won a prize. Yes, there is a prize. Maybe I can get us started. Bethany, would you tell us about a typical day in your job?
That's a great question. So hi, I'm Bethany O'Feely. I'm the Director of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Programs at OpenText. OpenText is a big data technical company. A typical day for me, I will meet with people on 4 different continents, generally across 15 different categories of types of items. So the very first, so at night when I go to sleep, before I go to sleep, I look at my calendar to see when my first meeting is. And because part of what I do is coordinate across the globe and across the business units and across the various types of subject matter expertise. So today I started off doing a talk where I was teaching the marketing people how to make their content more equitable and inclusive and diverse. And then I had to meet with someone else after that about some policies that we're writing for our developer community. And I'm looking at my calendar right now. And then after that, I had to meet with a different group. And each of these groups, the groups I coordinate are across the globe that is trying to figure out a way for us to measure all of the information, the demographic information, so we can know how diverse we are. So like if you're going to ask people in a Japan office about their background, how would you even know if your office is diverse in Japan? It's not exactly the same questions you ask. Like there's hardly any Black people there, but it's actually a big deal if they have a Korean person in their office. So so that's my day. And then I write, today I also made 3 presentations. One was a budget, and the other one was a proposal for another volunteer team to help us create the best practices guide. So it's interesting, at least. Every day is different and exciting when you have to have a job where you work with people in different parts of the world and different departments.
That's a great answer, Bethany. Thank you. It looks like Nas put a question into the chat. Nas, do you want to unmute yourself and answer or ask your question?
Yeah. This question is for Maurice. I don't think I said it right, but did I say it right?
Mm-hmm.
How did you get into doing all this?
So obviously I went to college. I started off as a psychology major, and I wanted to get into the business aspects of psychology. And then I actually wanted to go into IO psychology, which is the business side. But by the time I got to my 4th year in undergrad, the program got cut. And so I was trying to figure out a way how to get back into the business side of things with a psychology degree. And so I chose to get my MBA. And during that time, getting my master's in business, I had a course in project management. And so that's how I kind of fell into becoming a technical program and product manager, because during that time, it was a new up and coming career path. And living in Seattle in the tech industry was booming and growing. I kind of fell into it and things worked out. So it was about a 6-year process. And then I ended up getting my first job in the field at Amazon, and my career just grew from there. And I've been working as a technical program product manager for 5+ years now.
Thank you, Maurice. I think we got to wrap up the questions. We only have another minute or so, maybe 2 more minutes to do the survey. But I wanted to make a quick note that if you guys are interested in having mentors, let us know in the survey and we'll match you up with someone. And then we'll have them reach out to you via email. Here is the survey. I just realized I did not copy and paste it before. Are you able to put it in the chat, Adri?
Yes, I can do that
Okay.
for you. Let me get
Perfect.
to the right
Thank you.
location.
And remember to include your emails in the chat so we can get you guys your Amazon gift cards, and fill out your survey so you can get more Amazon gift cards. Let's see.
Okay, I got the
The
survey link here.
Perfect. Thank you so much. The link should be in the chat box. Let's see. So we promised you the $25 Amazon gift cards after completing the workshop. So to get the $25 and also get matched with your mentors, please use the link in the chat to take the exit survey. The survey really only takes a few minutes. It's really quick. Make sure to enter the link all lowercase into your web browser. Once you see the confirmation screen on the survey, then you're done. You can go ahead and exit the meeting. Don't forget to check out steamdiscoveryproject.org for more workshops every Wednesday through June 16th. The survey link is posted on there as well on the website. And also you can see our online resource guide. Thank you guys so much for coming, and thank you for your great questions and being great participants. And hopefully we will see you again.
Hey, Myla, if I saw a question from Chalk that says, I'm sorry if I said that wrong. What's it like to be an engineer? If that person wants to stay over,
Yeah.
if I see it. Chalk, I was an engineer for 20 years. I actually still apply a lot of those skills right now in this job. I was a software engineer mostly. And being an engineer is very interesting. Being a software engineer, part of your job is taking requirements to understand what the software has to do. And that's what a lot of engineering is, understanding the requirements. What is it I'm supposed to do here? What is it that you need this thing to do that I'm making? And my husband's a mechanical engineer. I see him do the same process. Understand your requirements first. And then there's like a design phase where you decide how you're going to make it. Even in software, you design it first. Even anything. My husband's building a boat that he designed it first. He drew a lot of sketches, did a lot of research. And then there's like the implementation phase, and that's the part where you're building something. And that's where you're actually writing code if you're a software engineer. And if you're a different kind of engineer, you're building something. And then there's a testing phase, and that's usually a cycle. And it's like this cycle where you do your requirements, your design, your building, your testing. Releasing it is a whole thing, like getting it out into the world is a whole part of it. And then people circle back and they do it again. And in general, it's very interesting. And you'll find that you would apply a lot of different skills. So that's kind of the short answer for that.
Thank you. Thank you for taking extra time, Bethany. Bobby, if you wouldn't mind, Mohammed had a question for you in the chat. He wanted to know how you feel about your job.
How I feel about it? I feel every day when I wake up in the morning, come to work knowing that someone in the world that I'm not going to meet, that I don't know, that could be someone's aunt, grandma, or uncle, or dad, or somebody that has cancer, that I potentially am making something that help them see their family longer. So that is the big reward coming in. And every day is different. You never know what problems you're going to run into. The problems are called deviations. These deviations, when they occur, we have to figure out how to fix it right on the fly, and it could be like you see something's wrong, you tell your boss, you come up with an idea, and then they meet for a couple hours and they come back and tell you, hey, go ahead and do your idea, or no, we want to do something else. So it's really every day is different. Most of it's the same, but there's always something that's like that needs to be fixed. And if you like something that you get the true feeling at the end of the day that something that you did goes to better the world in a way. That's how I feel about it. I hope that answers your question.
That was great, Bobby.
Yes, great answers. Okay, I don't think we have any more questions. Are there any more questions?
Great question and great answer. Thank you, Bobby.
All right, I think we're good to go then. Thank you everybody for showing up. If you're having a hard time with the survey, please let us know. It's also available on steamdiscoveryproject.org. There's a survey link there as well. That's how we will match you up with your mentor and the $25 Amazon gift card. And if you asked a question, we have the extra gift cards to hand out. Those will all be emailed to you.